Pahlavi texts, translated by E.W. West. Part 3. Dinai Mainogi Khirad, Clarendon, Oxford University Press, 1885. Chapter 1. The beginning of this chapter, enclosed in brackets, as far as verse 28, being lost from the Pahlavi text of K43, and no copy of it from TD2 being available, is here taken from the Pazan version contained in L19. The division into sections adopted throughout is that of the alternating Pazan Sanskrit text of Naryosang. Through the name and power and assistance of the Creator, Auharmazd, the archangels, who are good rulers and good performers, and all the angels of the spiritual and the angels of the worldly existences, by a happy dispensation, Dahisan, and well-omened, we write the opinions of the Spirit of Wisdom through the will of the sacred beings. This heading is prefixed to the original Pahlavi text in K43, a facsimile of which was published by Andreas in 1882, as, however, the text which follows it in that codex begins in the middle of chapter 1, verse 28. This heading must have been composed by some copyist after the first folio of the text had been lost from some previous copy. It is therefore doubtful whether the name he gives to the work, Opinions or Decisions of the Spirit of Wisdom, be the original title or not. But it is, at any rate, preferable to the modern appellation, the Spirit of Wisdom in Pazan. This title is Mainogi Khirad, but regarding the Pahlavi word, Mainog, see the introduction. And we know that some of the books of the Bible got later titles to them. In the name and for the propitiation of the all-benefiting Creator, Auharmazd, of all the angels of the spiritual and worldly creations, and of the learning of learnings, the Mazda-worshipping religion, forth from which this, which is such a source of wisdom, is a selector. And the comment, this work is a selection of wisdom from the religion. The Pazan Vas is a misreading of Pahlavi Agas from it, which is identical in form with the Pahlavi Afas, the correct equivalent of the Pazan Vas. Through the glory and will of the Creator Auharmazd, who is promoting the prosperity of the two existences, this world and the next, and of all the greatly powerful angels, and through the completely calm repose of the sacred beings, the princely, purpose-fulfilling sages. Princely, the angels are here compared to the Vaspu Harakan, the highest class of Sasanian nobles, called Barbatan, sons of the house, in Husvaris, see Noldex Persh, Ses, page 71 and 501. As these nobles rank next to the royal house, so do the archangels and angels rank next to Auharmazd. The title Vaspuhar is evidently connected with the ancient Persian equivalent of the Avestan Viso Puthra, son of the village or town, which, as Dharmestester points out, Etudes Iranians, Volume 2, page 170, is used in Vendidad chapter 7, verse 114, as the title of a person who has to pay the same medical fees as the Zantu Paete, tribal ruler, mentioned in the earlier verse 108, and who must therefore have been a man of equal rank. Presentations of various novelties for the appropriation of wisdom, through largely acquiring reasoning, thought. Reading Virmat both here and in verse 13 instead of Bazan Nirmad, which is a misreading of the same letters, are most welcome for the body and soul in two existences, as in the pure marvel of marvels, the unquestionable and well-betokened good religion of the Mazda worshippers, by the words of the Creator Ahura-Mazda, and Zarathustra the Spitaman. It is in many places decided that he, who is the all-good Creator, created these creatures through wisdom. Avestin Zarathustra Spitama, the great apostle of the Mazda worshippers, whose conversations with Ahura-Mazda, Pahlavi Ahura-Mazda, constitute a considerable portion of the Vesta or scripture of the Mazda worshippers. See the all good creative creation through wisdom. And his maintenance of the invisible revolutions is through wisdom, of the spheres or firmaments which are supposed to carry along the heavenly bodies. And the imperishable and undisturbed state, in that which is immortality forever and everlasting, he reserves for himself by means of the most deliberate means of wisdom. Reading Viramat, Homundatum. For the same reason it is declared that there was a sage who said that if this be known, that the religion of the sacred beings, Yazdan, is truth, and its law is virtue, and it is desirous of welfare and compassionate as regards the creatures. Wherefore are there mostly many sects, many beliefs, and many original evolutions of mankind, and especially that which is a sect, law, and belief, causing harm to the property, chel, of the sacred beings. It is not good. It may be questioned whether the property of the sacred beings is an allusion to the heterodox religion injuring the property, or the orthodox faith is sufficient to identify the former with Islam. Well, Surah 22 says you're supposed to protect everybody's house of worship, so how that applies, and original evolutions, reading Boon Gast, see Sikand Gmanik Vigar 473. And it's not good. And 19 and 20 were improperly separated by Naryosong. And this too, one has to consider that in order to become a chooser in this matter, trouble is to be undergone. And it is necessary to become acquainted with this matter, because in the end the body is mingled with the dust, and a reliance is on the soul. Because the physical existence is only a vehicle for the spiritual existence. And everyone is to undergo trouble for the soul, and is to become acquainted with duty and good works, because that good work which a man does unwittingly is little of a good work, and that sin which a man commits unwittingly amounts to a sin in its origin. The original text was no doubt Vinas Pavan Boon Val Yehevuned, which would be Guna Pa Boon O Bahod in Pazand, but L19 has omitted the P in Pa, and Naryosong has mistaken the preposition Val for the pronoun Valman, which blunders have misled the writers of the later manuscript into a variety of inconsistent readings. And it is declared by the Avesta, the sacred literature of the Parsis in its original language, and perhaps it was even older than the 1700 to 2000 BCE language of the Old Avesta. Thus, the extant Pahlavi text of K43 commences at this point. Nothing was taken by him by whom the soul was not taken. Hitherto, and he takes nothing who does not take the soul. Henceforward, likewise. By division of verses 28 to 30, Nur Yosong found himself compelled to add another Sanskrit clause in explanation, which would have been unnecessary if he had separated them as here pointed. Because the spiritual and worldly existences are such like as K43 emits as two strongholds. One, it is declared certain that they shall capture, and one it is not possible to capture, after being replete with those good actions of. L19 has after those good actions of a store, which it is declared certain that it is not possible to capture. And when he surveyed the incitement for this, the sage is mentioned in verse 15. He started forth for Vafto in search of wisdom into the various countries and various districts of the world, and of the many L17 has every religions and beliefs of those people who were superior in their wisdom. He thought and inquired, and he investigated, and he came upon their origin. So many, L19 has every, and upon their origin, L19 omits origin, having merely the ghost investigated instead of Boon Gusto investigated the origin. And when he saw that they are so mutually afflicting, Hanbashan and inimical among one another, and he knew that these religions and beliefs and diverse customs which are so mutually afflicting among one another in this world are not worthy to be from the appointment of the sacred beings, because the religion of the sacred beings is truth, and its law is virtue. And through this, he became without doubt that as to whatever L19 has everyone who, having read Kola Moon instead of Kola Maman, the meaning, however, is that all the details of the foreign faiths that are not found in the Mazda-worshipping religion are doubtful. It's not in this pure religion. There is then doubtfulness for them in everything, and in every cause they see distraction. After that, he became more diligent in the inquiry and practice of religion, and he inquired of the high priests who have become wiser in. K43 has of by omitting the pavan in this religion, and more acquainted with the religion. Thus, for the maintenance of the body and the preservation of the soul, what thing L19 has, what one thing is good and more perfect. And they spoke. K43 omits spoke by mistake through the statement from Revelation. Thus, of the Sanskrit has this benefit which happens to men. Wisdom is good because it is possible to manage the worldly existence through wisdoms, and it is possible to provide also the spiritual existence for oneself through the power of wisdom. L19 has through the power of wisdom. And this, too, is declared that Uharmazd has produced these creatures and creation, which are in the worldly existence through innate wisdom. The asno kirado, avestin asno kratus, is the durable or innate wisdom supposed to be implanted in one's nature, as distinguished from the avestin gaosho sruto kratus. The ear heard or acquired wisdom, obtained by experience. And the management of the worldly and spiritual existences is also through wisdom. And when, in that manner, he saw the great advantage and preciousness of wisdom, he became more thankful unto Auharmazd, the Lord and the archangels of the Spirit of Wisdom. And he took the Spirit of Wisdom as a protection. For the Spirit of Wisdom, one is to perform more homage and service than for the remaining archangels. And this too he knew, that it is possible to do for oneself every duty and good work and proper action through the power of wisdom. And it is necessary to be diligent for the satisfaction of the Spirit of Wisdom. And thenceforward he became more diligent in performing. L19 has to perform by admitting in the ceremonial of the Spirit of Wisdom. And he took, in verse 52, L19 has made, these two verbs being written alike in Husvaras. After that, the Spirit of Wisdom, on account of the thoughts and wishes of that sage, displayed his person unto him. And the archangels of 51, that is produced by the Spirit, as mentioned in verse 49, as regards the world, and here extended to the archangels. L19 omits the particle E so as to convert this spirit into the Spirit of Wisdom of Auharmazd and the archangels. It is very probable, however, that we ought to read and the Spirit of Wisdom. On to verse 58, and he spoke to him thus: O friend and glorifier, good from the perfect righteousness, seek advancement from me, the Spirit of Wisdom, that I may become thy guide to the satisfaction of the sacred beings and the good, and of the maintenance of the body in the worldly existence, and the preservation of the soul in the spiritual one. You know, the spirit and body are supposed to work together, as opposed to certain Christian doctrines that find their biblical reasons. The good, meaning specifically the priests, but by the mosque of worshiping, they mean those who worship the real God. And I know maybe they mean only those who are part of our priestly group or whatever, but it goes beyond groups. It goes beyond particular languages being used. And of course, religion doesn't have the problems that people have. So